Hey everyone, welcome to another video with TrialJoin. In this video we'll cover the best practices for maintaining and storing essential documents in clinical research. So we all know how many documents can be involved in clinical research, particularly because of how complex these trials are. So we're going to go over the essential documents you have to use in clinical research and where you can store them. Many of these are outlined in the ICH and GCP guidelines. Remember, those are the good clinical practices guidelines. So it's important to keep these documents for regulatory reasons and requirements by the sponsors. While many of our systems are going digital, it might be a question why a physical requirement is still there. So we'll cover those in the next few slides. So let's cover what are essential documents. Well, first off, it's the current protocol, which is basically the Bible of your study. The previous protocols of the study, protocol amendments, IRB approvals, IRB correspondence, site monitoring visit logs, subject visit logs, screening and enrollment logs, lists of subject identification codes, HIPAA forms, IP-related documents, protocol deviations, advertising and marketing materials, IND safety reports, which are investigational new drug, CFRs, which are code of federal regulations, and informed consent reports. So do you need a physical copy of the essential documents? The short answer is yes. Even though everything has been going digital and you're able to scan everything and store it online, many of the federal requirements and sponsors often require you to store the documents. Although the good thing about this can be sponsors will often reimburse you and compensate you for storing the documents. So what kind of online database can be used for storing trial documents? Ones are protected with the IMR, which stands for Information Risk Management. Anything that is compliant with the 21 CFR Part 11 compliance program with the FDA. Definitely don't use any free platforms out there, because they off the bat will not have the necessary technology and requirements for HIPAA compliance and FDA compliance. So the reason you want to make sure the databases you use are secure is because you want to, of course, abide by HIPAA and respect the confidentiality and privacy of the patients. At the same time, you got to be able to control the data, see who views it, have a lot of audit logs, know what they access, what time they access it, and also it gives you the option to give and forbid access to users within your organization, so they're only limited to the videos they should be watching. Also see who has access to the database. So here are some no-nos with clinical trial document storage online. Definitely don't use anything free such as Google Drive or OneDrive or many of the other solutions out there that are cloud storage centers, unless they particularly say that they are HIPAA compliant and FDA compliant. And remember, there are many cases where people have had to pay huge fines because they've done storage on these online methods that aren't HIPAA compliant. And at the same time, with your storage online, FDA and the sponsor is going to want to see physical copies. And if you're having an issue storing these copies, you can always talk to the sponsor or the study manager or your CRA. Explain them that your database is secure, and ultimately, they can either accept or deny it, but they'll help you come up with a solution for that. And many of the reasons why you won't be able to store it in-house is you just don't have the facilities for it. Your facilities is overpacked with previous protocol sheets, so there's many reasons why you might have to do it. Of course, there are different solutions that the sponsor can work with you with, such as renting a secure storage room where you can store everything. And here are some of the essentials of your essential documents. So all documents have to be indexed, which allows them to be accessed really quickly. This is your search feature. And all electronic copies of the document have to be certified, so we know its original copy and when it was last edited, all those details for the audit purposes. So none of the documents can be doctored or altered in any way. And Each page should be confirmed for accuracy and presented with some type of identification code and a certification that it has been filled. And also, fifth, that you take all possible security measures such as SSL certificates, you take database encryption. There's quite a few things that you have to do if you're going to store online or if you can create your own system. Again, on the note of creating your own system, there are a lot of requirements, so we suggest going with a vendor that provides everything. It's not worth the money saving or the time savings that you get by just using the existing vendor. Here's some documents that you may want to also additionally store. Here's your IRB approval for anything from recruitment material for protocol changes. And again, remember, we can't emphasize the security, the encryption of the documents, and also the sponsor's approval for allowing you to do it online or on an online database. And remember that it ultimately comes down to the PI and their responsibility for maintaining all data records and ensuring a proper EMR system or a CTMS system is implemented where you can store this data. So how do you keep documents at a satellite site? Well, first you have to talk with the sponsor and make sure that that's allowed. And again, if you don't know what a satellite site is, it's a secondary site that can either double up on your study because you don't have enough access to patients in your primary site. There'll be some requirements such as the same PI working the study and the same staff being able to go back and forth. At the same time, PI is going to have the ultimate supervisor role over both sites. Some of the concerns that the FDA may raise about satellite sites is the PI's ability to oversee these secondary sites. They want to make sure that everything's under the same process, SOPs, that way there's no deviation from the way it's being conducted. Ultimately, this comes on the PI and sub-I, of course, too. And then, storing it. Many site owners wonder if sponsors will require them. Again, just to reiterate the answer, it will be yes most of the cases, but as the industry keeps shifting, it may turn into more and more yeses than you're encountering at the time. And that does bring us to the conclusion of our slide. Of course, if you have any questions about this, I highly recommend you speak with your sponsor and get secondary approvals from them before you move to an online database. Thank you.